Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Change is Very Much Possible. I'm Alex Deutsch, and I'm so grateful to have you here with me today. In our last episode, we dug into something that holds a lot of people back. That is fear. We talked about how fear can paralyze us and prevent us from making the changes we know we need. But we also explored how embracing fear, facing it head on, is the key to moving forward and growing into the persons we want to be. If you haven't had the chance to listen to my episodes 3 and 4, I highly recommend checking it out. We dove into how fear is something we all experience, but it doesn't have to control us. In fact, I shared a personal story about a moment of my life when fear almost kept me from making the decision that changed everything. And the scary part was taking that step made all the difference. Now, today's episode is going to build on that idea, but we are going to look at something equally important, and that's faith. Faith is the force that can guide us when things get tough. It's the thing that can help us through the darkest of times, and is the thing that can fuel the change we want to see happening in our lives. Whether you are dealing with a difficult situation or simply trying to embrace change, faith is what gives us the strength to keep moving forward. Today we're talking about the power of faith, what it really means, how it helped me personally, and why it's an essential part of transformation. So let me start by saying this. Faith isn't always about religion. It's not just about going to church or following a specific set of beliefs. Faith, true faith, is about trust. It's about believing that something greater than ourselves can help us and guide us through life's challenges. And for me, faith has been one of the most powerful forces in my life. When I think about everything I've been through, from surviving a childhood under the oppression and of communism in Romania, to leaving everything behind, to start over in a new country, I can honestly say that faith, without it, I wouldn't have been able to make it through. It's easy to look someone who's made it through tough times and think that they just had everything together, that they didn't struggle the way you do. But that's not true. I faced moments where I was totally lost, where I didn't know how I was going to make it through, but I was unsure of my next step. And in those times, faith was what kept me grounded. It was my anchor. I'm sure many of you can relate to those moments of uncertainty. Life can throw us curveballs, and sometimes we don't know how we're going to make it through. We feel like we're at the end of our rope with no answers and no direction. But faith is what helps us hold on in those moments when everything else feels like it's falling apart. Faith reminds us that even when we can't see our way forward, there is something, maybe someone, that's guiding us, giving us the necessary strength to persevere. For me, faith isn't just about hoping things will work out. It's about trusting that I'm not alone in this journey. It's about knowing that I can lean on something greater than myself when I need it the most. That was true when I left Romania. It was true when I moved to Israel, with no idea what the future would hold. And it was true when I came to the United States, a place where I didn't speak the language and didn't know anyone. So every time I faced a major change, I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but I had faith. I trusted that even in the midst of all the unknowns, I would be guiding to where I needed to be. Now, faith doesn't always come easy. At times it's difficult to hold on to when everything around you feels uncertain. But I want you to think about faith as a guiding force. It's not something that takes you away all the difficulties in life. No, life is still going to give you challenges, for sure. You are still going to face situations, but faith is the thing that helps you beyond those struggles. It's the belief that no matter how difficult things get, there is a bigger picture at play. There is a purpose in what you're doing too, and it's that belief that keeps you moving forward, even when you can't see the end goal. You know, I've talked a lot about my journey, about struggles I faced, but one of the biggest changes I experienced wasn't just about the external circumstances. It was about the shift in my mindset, the change. When I began to truly embrace faith, I began to see the world totally differently. I stopped viewing life as a series of obstacles to overcome, and I started to view it as a path I was meant to walk, no matter how difficult the terrain. Faith taught me to look at challenges not as the roadblocks, but as opportunities for growth. I taught myself that even in the darkest moments, I could find strength. And most importantly, faith helped me understand that I wasn't alone. I remember a time when we were living in Israel, struggling to make ends meet, wondering how we were going to find our way in this new country. There were days when I felt completely broken, disconnected from everything I had ever known. I could have let fear take over, but instead I had something better to do. I chose to put my faith in something greater than myself, and slowly but surely things began to shift. Opportunities started to come my way. I met new people who supported me. I found my footing. And it wasn't because everything fell into place easily. It was because I had faith that I could keep going, even when I didn't have all the answers. So what I want to share with you today, the power of faith. Faith isn't about knowing everything. It's not about having all the answers. It's about trust. It's about moving ahead and having the courage to keep moving, even when you can't see the path. And that's why faith is such a crucial part of everything, of personal transformation. Because when you believe that there is a greater purpose in life, when you believe that you are being guided through your struggles, it changes everything. It helps you embrace the unknown. It helps you let go of the fear that holds you back. Faith is the key to interlocking with real life and unlocking the freedom. Freedom from doubt, freedom from fear, and freedom to step into the life you were always meant to live. In the next segment of this episode, I'll share more personal stories about how faith has stopped my journey and shaped who I was going to be. I'll talk about the pivotal moments in my life when my faith was tested and how it helped me grow stronger, more resilient. So stay tuned because we are just getting started. Thank you for being here today with me. Remember, faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting that no matter what happens, you are being guided towards something bigger and better in your life. And that, my friends, is the power of faith. Let me continue with a personal story. I would like to ask you to join me in diving deeper into today's topic. In the first part of this episode, we talked about the power of faith and its role in personal transformation. How faith can guide us through life's toughest challenges and provide us with strength when things feel impossible. Now, I want to share more about my own spiritual journey and how faith has been the anchor that kept me grounded through some of life's darkest moments. Let me take you back to my early story in Romania and under the communist rule there. That was a country where fear, where oppression, uncertainty were constants. I was raised in an environment where freedom was a distant dream and survival was the reality. But what kept me and my family going was the faith that things could get better, that there was something beyond the oppression we were living under. My parents, survivors of the Holocaust, had passed on a deep sense of faith. Faith in survival, faith in the future, and above all, faith in something greater than ourselves. But here is the thing, as a young boy, I didn't understand faith and understand how belief in somewhat greater could help us through darkness. And I didn't realize the power of faith until I was much older, after years of living through a world that seemed to take away every ounce of freedom. What I did understand was fear. Fear was my companion, my shadow. Fear kept us from speaking openly. Fear kept us from thinking freely. Fear was embedded in the fabric of our everyday lives, making it difficult to see any hope, let alone faith. But let me tell you, faith doesn't come easy. When you are living in a place of constant fear, you don't just wake up one day and say, I trust everything will work out today. No. Faith is something you learn over time, especially when life tests you to your very core. I like to fast forward now to a point in my life when faith became something I truly understood. After Romania, I found myself in Israel, and I had left behind everything, my family, my homeland, and now I was in a new country, a new world, and I didn't know where to start. The fear was overwhelming again. I speak the language, don't know anyone, didn't have a plan. I completely felt out of place. The fear of failure crept in as well, again. What if I couldn't adjust? What if I couldn't succeed? What if I made a mistake that would cost me everything? But I kept going. I knew I had a choice to move forward, and that was my only choice. The alternative was to go back, and I couldn't do that. I have already taken the biggest step in my life, and it wasn't an easy one. But here is what happened next. During those dark moments, when I didn't know if I could make it, I remember the faith my parents had shown in me. I remembered their quiet resilience. So one night when I was sitting in my apartment, I found myself in a moment of utter despair. I was questioning everything. What had I left Romania? What had I come to a place where I felt like a stranger? My fears were swallowing me whole. And then something shifted. I realized that faith wasn't just about trusting in something external. It was about believing in my own ability to face the struggle and keep going. I had to trust myself. I had to believe that if I kept taking small steps forward, eventually I would find my way. And that was my turning point. I stopped waiting for things to magically get better. I stopped expecting life to hand me a perfect situation. Instead, I started believing in my own ability to change my circumstances. I have all the answers. I still don't. But I had the faith to keep moving forward, one step at a time. Now, I want to share with you this because I believe it can help you. Faith is not about having all the answers. It's not about knowing what the future holds and feeling in control of every situation. It's about trusting that even when you don't have all the answers, you are guided. Even when you feel lost, you are supported. And when fear comes knocking, you don't have to let it control your life any longer. You can choose faith, and in doing so, you choose to believe that better things are ahead. I want to leave you with this idea today. Whatever you are facing, whatever challenges, whatever fears, remember that faith can carry you through. If you can trust that, even in the toughest of times, you are being guided, you will find the strength to make it through. Thank you for listening today. In the next episode, we'll dive deeper into how to overcome doubt and build resilience when life throws us curveballs. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.